Here are 5 top tips to boost your confidence in your new career. So if you are a new or fairly new coach, practitioner, or wellness professional, you may be at that awkward stage of your career where you have qualified and got your credentials and your skills, but you haven't yet got the experience and the results that will really make you feel confident in what you're doing. So I'm going to give you 5 top tips that you can do right now that will really start to transform your confidence, because the lack of confidence is often a major barrier to getting started or to getting enough of that experience that will give you the results and that you can then embody and know just how good at you are at what you do. So I'm Shane Pearson from Design Your Life Coaching. I'm also a mentor with the From Passion to Profit crew. So let's get started. Number 1, I would say own your story. And what I mean by that is really wonderful exercise for you to do is to reflect on your own life, your own journey, and your own history, and write down your own version of it with a specific focus on all of the challenges or breakthroughs you have overcome, especially the ones most relevant to your niche or to your practice where you intend to be working. So for example, you may have had a health challenge that you've had to learn about and then find out specifics of what perhaps you were doing wrong in your life and what you had to do to change. You may have had to make big dietary changes, such as going gluten-free or getting rid of dairy or shifting from the diet you were accustomed to a much healthier diet that then helped your body to overcome that. All really, really powerful, really useful. You may have had personal breakthroughs in terms of relationships or career or weight loss or strengthening the body. So whatever it is that you have already been through and achieved for yourself is embodied. You have that in your cells and you can operate very confidently from that. This is also a great exercise to help you really nail down your niche. So think of it as that your ideal client is the previous you. When you realize that there are many, many people out there who are at a stage where you were before they made the breakthrough that you have made, or before they made the changes and had a successful outcome that you have had, you start to realize, you can embody that and operate confidently from that. So own your story. Number 2 would be to know your strengths. So be yourself, because everybody else is taken. You might have heard that, it may be a little bit cliched, but this is really about knowing what you do best. And really, this is also about letting go of perhaps comparing yourself to others, focusing on what it is that you specifically bring to the table. And that may be something like being a really good listener. Maybe you're deeply empathic. Maybe you have a high level of emotional intelligence. Maybe you're a really detailed researcher. Maybe you have a fantastic memory. Maybe you have access to a lot of resources. Maybe you are a fitness professional, or maybe you have made those changes we spoke about in the owning your story. So really get to know your strengths. And then again, like your story, own those strengths and operate them. Don't be afraid to operate from them consistently. And people will start to get the message that, unconsciously, that this person has got these strengths. That will be particularly valuable to those people who are perhaps lacking those strengths. A great balance in perhaps a coaching relationship, or in an alliance, in a wellness alliance, or in a therapeutic alliance. Number 3 would be to reverse the gap. I love this one. It's a simple technique, and we often don't do enough of it. So right now, you are probably have got an intention. You have a future version of you in mind. And we have a goal. We have an outcome we want to get to. There's a version of us that we want to become, but we're not there yet. So reversing the gap means, rather than looking at the gap between where we are now and where we want to get to, you reverse that gap. When we are all constantly focusing on the gap between where we are now and where we want to get to, and how big or how far that is, or how much you have to do, that can be stressful, and it makes us feel more inadequate, or perhaps weakens our confidence. So a simple reframe is to go, reverse that gap. So rather than looking at where you want to get to, look back and look at how far you have come. The gap between where you are now and where you used to be. Perhaps that was before you started training. Perhaps that was before you had lost the weight. Perhaps that was before you made those changes in your own life that empowered you and brought you to where you are now. Perhaps it's all those hours of study, all those sacrifices that you have made to get to where you are now. So reverse that gap and do that often, especially when you're perhaps feeling yourself stressed out about how far you have to get, or how much you have to do to get to where you want to go. Okay, step 4 would be, don't compare yourself to anyone. Okay, so you're probably all guilty of this. We all probably do at a certain level. Now, we've never been exposed to so many people through our smartphones, our laptops, our computers, and social media, etc. So it's very hard not to. And if you're, in a new profession, you probably have your own gurus. You maybe have your own coach that you really aspire to become more like. And maybe it's like a healthcare professional. Maybe it's a functional medicine expert or a big name in the field. And what we can start to do is unconsciously or consciously compare ourselves to them. Again, that's like the gap is extraordinary. So we're guilty then of trying to be, wanting to be like someone else. So a lovely quote here from Jim Rohn would be, the only person to compare yourself to would be your former self. Similar to that reverse gap. So comparing yourself to who you used to be. That's the only really comparison you can make. So when you can find yourself comparing yourself to perhaps, an expert in their field, they may have been at this for decades. It's often they've worked really, really hard, and then they get to a point where they're really hitting the masses. So take ownership of you, how far you've come, and compare yourself to your former self. The last one I would say is believe in your client. One of the probably the most powerful thing we can do when we have a client who's trying to improve the life of some way is to really believe in them. You will notice this if you think about a speech from a podium, and perhaps as a speech a person makes at a graduation or at a ceremony or a prize ceremony where they've been awarded a prize in recognition of their achievement. Often you will hear, I want to thank my brother or my mother or my coach or my trainer or whoever I thank you for believing in me when I was going through my doubt. Thank you for believing me when I didn't believe in myself. There's something extremely powerful about that. And when you really believe in your client, especially when they don't believe in themselves, that can be the difference that makes a difference. It's simple, not always perhaps easy, but it's simple. And when you can come with that attitude and from the start, get to really listen to your client, really get to know them and believe in them, that is powerful. And that is often what you will be remembered for, not for the information you've given, not for any clever techniques, not for anything else. If you really believe in the client, wow, that will really boost them and can be an extraordinary transformation for them, especially when a lot of other people don't. So that's my 5 top tips. I can expand on these and any of these if you want more. So do reach out and let me know. Get in touch with a private message or respond to the post. Okay, I look forward to seeing you on the next video, and have a great day.